Welcome to Nirmala Yoga.
This is your time to practice. It's your space to be. It doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. Nobody else needs to know what you're doing. Welcome to your practice. So how are you going to begin today? Maybe you're already lying down. Maybe you'll stay seated like me for an opportunity to arrive in the practice, to arrive into the physical body, do a little scan through and find places to soften. Find that beautiful connection to your rhythm, your breath. Use your exhalations to really relax down, to sink down into whatever position you're in. So if we're seated, we still might be lifting up tall. But where can we relax at the same time? Where can we soften into it, maybe mentally, maybe emotionally? What kind of a rhythm are we creating with our breath? Is it evenly in and out? We may be lengthening that exhalation a little bit. Allowing an even deeper softening into yourself, into the practice. And then let yourself just be here with your breath, with the stillness. This little space, this little sanctuary that you created. Allow yourself to sink deeper and deeper into it and notice the thoughts. Observe the sensations. Maybe there's some parts of the body that need a little bit of extra care today. Maybe the practice is going to be a little bit more mental. You're going to find a mantra to keep you steady, to keep you coming back, to anchor you into the practice. Let's use the breath as well to do that. Very aware of that deep breath in, all the way in. And all the way out again. And what happens throughout that breath cycle. What kind of thoughts try to come into the mind? What kind of sensations occur in the body on that exhale? Maybe not on the inhale. On the inhale, and maybe not so much on the exhale. Notice those changing sensations. Stay connected to your breath. Stay in this moment. Let everything else go. Maybe this is what you need today. Stillness, conscious, connected breath. Perhaps we set a little intention for whatever it is that we're looking to create with our practice today. And if we're seated, maybe bringing the hands to Anjali Mudra to confirm that intention. If you're lying down, maybe starting to move, starting to find your way up to seated. And then we'll drop the chin down. Don't worry if you're not here yet. Take your time. This is your practice. And then on the inhale, we're going to gently open the eyes. Take those hands up and open them up to the sky. And then on an exhale, bring them back down and together, Anjali Mudra. Inhale to open. And lift, and then draw the palms together, draw them back down to heart center. 2 more times. Inhaling, feeling that expansion. Exhaling. Where can you soften? Once more. And then come back to your intention once more. We're going to change the cross of the legs. You can get a little bit more creative or take a little bit more support if that's what you need. And then we're going to take the attention, the awareness to the extremities of the arms, to the hands, to the fingers. Start to really work through those fingers and thumbs, circling the wrists and letting the hands come out to the side. And then reversing the circles, coming back in again towards heart center. Really working through those fingers, finding that right level for you today, bringing the palms together and Jali Mudra, come back to your intention. Come back to your breath if you got a little lost away from it. And then let's take those circles again, coming out in front. Then reversing them and coming back into heart center. Again, take that moment. Notice the sensations that you've created. Notice as they dissipate away. Notice what stays. And then on an exhale, interlacing the fingers, rounding into the back, pushing forwards, getting a nice stretch into the back of the body. Inhaling up with those hands when you're ready. And exhaling, circling them behind. Inhaling to an open heart. And exhaling back to neutral, changing the interlace this time. So exhale, did I change it? Yes, I did. Exhale, pushing away. Nice and slow, mindful movements. When you're ready, inhaling up. Releasing the hands, circling them behind. And then on the next inhale, let's open into that heart, get that extension into the spine. And then releasing back to neutral, taking one hand to the earth. Let's inhale the other one up. Maybe take a little look at those fingertips. Then we're going to gaze down towards the opposite hand. So getting a movement with the neck as we gaze up and back down. Maybe marrying it up with the breath, inhaling and exhaling. No pain. Finding something wonderful once more. And then as we're looking down at that hand, let's continue with that top arm over, fingers reaching up and away so that we're not compressing down, but we're lifting up and open and finding that length on that top side of the body. Also a little bit of length on that bottom side as well. Get connected into your breath. And then releasing opposite side. So first we're going to lift up, gaze up, and then gaze towards the opposite hand. I think it feels a little bit different on this side. No pain, no pinching. Once more, looking up and then looking down and then taking that stretch over and up. Reaching through fingertips. Action, certainly in some places, activation necessary. But where isn't it necessary? Where can you soften a little bit? And then releasing, this time bringing hands back to heart center, closing the eyes once more. Coming back to your intention, coming back to your beautiful deep breath. Perhaps you're connected to the breath the whole time. And notice how it changes now. So you come back to a neutral position with the upper body. So you might take your time, but eventually finding your way onto the hands and knees, finding a nice tabletop position. And then letting the heart sink down a little bit as you keep the arms long, pushing the earth away to feel that openness between the shoulder blades. As we release down, shoulder blades coming together. As you push the earth away, feeling that space between them. And then maybe we're going to come down onto the elbows. Maybe some of you are going to stretch those arms out long for a nice bubby pose. Find the right place for you to be. Connect into your breath. What can you find here? Places to soften, Maybe the head is relaxing down. Maybe you've grabbed a block to pop under the forehead to lift the earth up towards where you need it to be. And then coming back up again, finding a little cat-cow as you get back to tabletop. And then stretching the right leg out behind. Maybe toes are staying to the earth for the first couple of breaths. Maybe they're going to stay there for a little while longer. Lifting up when you're ready, but we're going to drop those toes down and lift up. Back to that neutral, nice long 9. Then we're going to come to the outside of the opposite foot and tap down there and come back up to neutral. And then we're going to open that hip and scoop it around, maybe up as high as the hands, perhaps sinking back a little bit here so we get a nice long stretch down the back of that leg. Exactly where that foot is up to you. Maybe it needs to come out a little bit more. Check in with the hips. Let's keep them nice and neutral, level, parallel to the earth. And maybe we just press the sitting bones back a little bit to intensify if that feels good. Coming forwards with the hips as you lift that leg, sweep it all the way around, close the hips and drop it to the outside, taking a little look towards it, perhaps over that shoulder as well. Finding space into the side body, staying connected to your breath. Seeing what changes as you stay. Maybe you're going to stay a little bit longer, or we're going to lift up, sweep it around, open that hip again. This time we're going to bring it all the way up to the front of the mat, keeping the hands to the inside and maybe sinking forwards with the hips a little bit if that feels good. Taking that stretch now down the front of the opposite leg. Maybe we're still getting a nice stretch through here too. So you might turn the toes, maybe heel toe out a little bit more and come onto the blade of that foot. You could let the hips sink down and maybe catch and roll that thigh. So we're encouraging that external rotation. Take a fist to the earth if you need to. Maybe gaze back towards that back foot. Notice what changes as you stay. And as we're releasing, maybe we're going to step that knee back alongside the other, shifting forward so the shoulders are above the wrists, coming down to earth and all the way up to our cobra pose. Maybe you're going to take a little cat-cow instead before pressing back to child's pose, back to balasana, or staying on the belly if that's more comfortable. Come back to your breath, come back to your intention. Let yourself be here in this moment. Notice the different sensations in the body. Notice what happens on an inhale, what happens on an exhale. Notice which sensations stay, and which ones come and go. You feel space opening up. Stay for as long as you want when you're ready. Finding a tabletop and then stretching the left leg out. Maybe keeping the toes to the earth. Maybe just for a little while. And then coming up, feeling the glutes active as we lift that leg. Then we're going to come back down to earth a couple of times. So you can really feel that glute working. Keeping the spine nice and long. And then coming to the outside. And back to that neutral position. And then we're going to open those hips and scoop that foot all the way around, maybe up as high as the hands, shifting back a little bit with the hips. If we can keep those four corners of that foot onto the earth. Maybe we need to take it out a little bit, back a little bit, forwards a little bit. So find that right place for you to be. You find that right intensity. It's getting very windy here today. Hello, beautiful. And then we're going to be lifting it up as we shift forwards, bringing that leg around, closing the hips and taking the toes to the outside of the opposite leg. Maybe gazing around towards it as well, getting a nice stretch into the side body. What can you find here? Does it feel a little bit different on this side? Can you not really remember? Doesn't matter either way. Let's be in the moment as we shift that leg up, externally rotate again. Hello, baby. And bring that foot all the way up to the outside of that hand, but now letting the hips shift forwards. So finding that right place to be, easing into it, breathing into it. And then we're going to turn the toes of that foot, come onto the blade. Maybe you step it out a little bit more, let that hip sink down to the earth. Use a fist if you need to. Opposite hand could be helping that rotation. So rather than pushing the knee away, we're rotating the femur in the hip socket, encouraging that rotation, but not pushing, not forcing. Maybe gazing towards that back foot. What can you find here with the breath, with the posture that's in line with your intentions? And then as we're releasing, taking that knee back alongside the other, maybe toes are coming to the earth, so you're going down through your chaturanga. And maybe up to up dog, or come down with me to the earth. I'm going to slide those hands forwards. Elbows coming underneath the shoulder for a beautiful Sphinx pose. And if this isn't quite doing enough, maybe we take the thumbs forward, rotating the hands out, and find our way up to our seal pose instead. Head floating up above the shoulders, heart opening forwards, soft in the face, deep with the breath. And then as we're starting to come back down, let's come down onto the earth. And really feel that connection. There's extra body parts in contact with the floor. Maybe the hands are stacked and the head is down, feeling that connection between palm and back of hand. Between forehead and maybe fingers or knuckles. Getting connected into the breath. Noticing the thoughts that might want to encroach. Coming back to the breath again and again. Letting yourself sink down into the pose. And some of you are even going to lift the legs and bring them wide for a little crocodile pose. A little makrasana while we're here. Feeling that external rotation again as the insteps come down to the earth. But not pushing, not forcing. Taking the legs as wide as you need to. Find somewhere to get comfortable here. Maybe that's by keeping the legs parallel, so you find that right version for you today. Stay connected to your breath. And then as we're coming up, we might just bring one leg back into line, and that opposite knee is going to come up a little bit higher, bending into it, and toes coming maybe in towards the inner thigh, or maybe the toes and the foot's coming straight down from the knee, so that we're finding a little froggy pose on one side. Some of you are going to come up into that beautiful Sphinx pose. with the upper body as well. But find that right place to be. Stay connected to your breath. Open into the pose, grow into the pose. And then releasing back down with the upper body. Let's see if we can bring that foot up now. Maybe it's just coming a little way off the earth. Maybe you're going to rise and fall with that foot. Maybe you're bringing it to that maximum and holding it there. And as we release that foot back down, you're going to take opposite hand in and through and roll it straight over into our twist. And then while we're here, finding a little bit of movement with the tailbone, if it feels appropriate. You might be just kind of tucking it out and tucking it in, or finding a little circle if that feels good. Making sure we're still connected to the breath and aware of the sensations that we can create with that breath. Choosing movement or stillness with the tailbone, with the pelvis. Finding something that works just for you. It's just right for you. And then releasing back onto the belly. So coming back onto the belly and finding that opposite side. So maybe tippy toes are coming in towards that inner thigh. That other leg is nice and long. The whole side of the body nice and long. Or taking the foot below the knee. Finding a little froggy pose just on one side. So we don't want the knee up too high. You don't want it up any higher really than the hips. But you find that right place for you. And then choose whether to add on that little Sphinx pose as well, with the torso, with the arms, elbows underneath the shoulders, heart opening forward. Perhaps a little bit of work going on, but find the softness too. Stay connected to your breath. So coming down with the torso, and then maybe we're going to lift that foot high to the sky, maybe just a little bit. Maybe you're working through that range of movement. Or maybe you're coming to the max, the end range, and holding it there. So you find that right place for you today, that right level of work for you today. No pain. There can be a tendency to cramp up here. We're asking muscles to work in different ways to usual. So if you get a cramp, release out of it into that twist whenever you need. And as we release that foot down, opposite arm is coming through. And we're finding that twist. Maybe with a little bit of movement at the tailbone. Maybe it's a little flexion and extension, tucking tailbone under and out. Just a really fine movement. Maybe even some circles feel good. If it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't feel useful, why are you doing it? So making sure you're finding the right thing for you today. Movement, stillness, certainly connected into the breath. You might find as you stay with that movement, space starts to open up. Enjoy that space. Find some softness too. And then when you're ready, coming back onto the belly, hands coming in line with the chest, pressing up and back to child's pose. So maybe we take the knees a little bit wider today, keeping the big toes kissing, lightly touching. Finding that right place for your hands, for the arms. Getting nice and long into the spine, feeling that space opening up, left-hand side of the spine, right-hand side of the spine. Space between the vertebra. Grow into that space and use the breath. Use a deep inhale to create even more. And soften into it deeper and deeper on those exhalations. Maybe you're going to stay with it here. Maybe there's enough going on. Or we're going to maybe take a little bunny hop forward. So you might need to adjust a little bit, get ready for it, use those internal muscles. And maybe we can find a little bit of space behind us on the mat by doing that. Or come here any way you want to. So you can start to come back a little bit onto the hands. Maybe some of you can come back onto the elbows. Ensure that the tailbone can move down towards the bottom of the mat so we can really lengthen the spine, lengthen the rib cage up and away, especially if maybe we're going to come down to the earth with the whole of the back of the body. Notice if those knees want to lift up, can we encourage them back down to earth? And if this is too much for the knees, let's find a different position that works. Something useful, something respectful, something beautiful. Stay connected to your breath or come back to it again. Remember your intention. Allow yourself to soften into this pose as much as you can. No pain. Just that sensation of allowing yourself to open up into the pose. Where is that space opening up? Maybe you're going to stay here a little while longer. Maybe you're going to come up with me. We're going to find our way all the way up and through, screaming toes for a moment to release off maybe that deep stretch on the tops of the feet, and then coming on up to our ragdoll, using this as a beautiful inversion, a nice, gentle inversion with the torso. Inhaling deep and exhaling to release and to relax into it. You might have a little bit of movement, a little bit of sway if you want to, or we're just staying, letting gravity do its work. Feeling the head drawing down towards the earth, the elbows too. Change that switch. How can you soften into it? Where is space opening up? Left-hand side of the spine, the right-hand side of the spine, between the vertebra, down the backs of the legs, about the soles of the feet. What about space between the ribs as you take that beautiful deep breath in? And we'll start to find our way back down to earth, trying to keep the head down low. This isn't for everybody. Be respectful to your body, of course. And find your way onto the back of the body. And then if you want to go up into a shoulder stand today, feel free to do that. Otherwise, we're going up into Setu Bandhasana, up into our bridge pose. Maybe rolling the shoulders in underneath. Interlacing fingers. Getting a nice inversion from knees to head. Breathing while we're here. Breathing deep, finding that rhythm, staying connected to it. And then as we come down, we're going to bring the inversion to those parts of the body that we've missed, the hands, the arms, and the lower legs and the feet, taking them on up to the sky and maybe shaking them out a little bit. Maybe wiggling toes, circling ankles and wrists, or just shake, shake, shake. So find that right movement for you today. Find that right inversion for you today. And if you're shaking it, let's really go for it for the last few seconds. And then pause, but keep the hands and the feet high. Take at least 3 beautiful breaths here. Getting nice and long into the spine. Noticing those sensations in the hands and the feet, and the arms and the legs. Maybe sighing out as you really let yourself sink down, bringing knees into chest, giving yourself a little hug, or indeed doing any other movements, postures that you need before Savasana today. Hello, baby. Anything goes. Maybe you're bringing one knee into the chest and switching it over a couple of times. Maybe you're coming to a Supta Baddha Konasana for a few rounds of breath. Maybe it's a little swish, swish with the knees. So explore and create whatever it is that you need so that when you do come to that final pose of Shavasana, you can really release. You've done everything that you need to let the body relax down, to let the mind relax into the pose, into this moment just to switch off. And rather than laying there and letting the mind immediately become full of thoughts, perhaps harness the mind onto the breath. It could just be for a few rounds at the beginning of Shavasana. And then each time you notice the mind wandering, maybe you stay connected to that conscious breath throughout your relaxation today. Allowing yourself to sink down deeper and deeper with each exhalation. Body relaxing down. Surrendering to the pose completely. After a few breaths there, maybe you can open up into it a little bit more. Take up some more space. Then release and relax back down. Allow yourself to let go of anything and everything, keeping you from just being in this moment, enjoying this stillness. This next breath in, this next breath out. Take some time out now just to be, just to breathe.
Namaste, beauties. Much love.